Hey everyone, so in this video, we're just going to get a better understanding of the funding process overall and just go into a couple of rules that we might have missed in a couple of other videos, and everything is in the funding policy. So we're just going to go over all of that in a little more detail for you guys. So to start off, we'll go over event guidelines. So MSG follows anything that St. Strong says. So anything related to COVID changes or anything else that could come up, we will always follow whatever St. Strong comes out with. So make sure you're keeping up with them and seeing what new guidelines they're posting.
Yes, and then moving into something a little bit different, eligibility requirements. These for organizations to be eligible to request funds, they must fall under the guidelines listed. And you can read through these, but just make sure that you have a good idea that you know you're a recognized student organization, you've completed this training, you've watched these videos, you're not on funding probation, things like that. So just read through it and make sure you're all good and eligible to request funds. And then once you actually want to request funds, the funding process and in the funding policy, you'll find more detailed the description of how to go through the funding process. But the first step is reviewing that eligibility like we just talked about. The second is actually requesting the funding, and we've actually created a video that walks you through. And if you still have questions, feel free. And we really stress that you use that Treasury email to contact us with any questions, comments, or concerns. Other than that, the main point we also wanted to stress here was that the budget requests need to be submitted no less than 20 business days prior to the event date. That's really important, so we can review it in a timely manner and then get you back in that allocations meeting and give you a verdict on your budget request. So like I said, and again, these allocation meetings are open to everyone, but only required if a finance team member asks for someone to come and explain their funding requests. And these decisions will be made on all budget requests within 3 business days of the allocation meeting for you guys.
This last step is going to be focused on what to do with receipts, event attendance, and everything like that. So we did make a video that you guys probably already watched on what to do after you receive funding. So make sure to check that out and review how to submit all your receipts. And then the biggest note here is that all your invoices and receipts, reimbursement requests need to be submitted within 48 hours of the event. And this is going to be something that we're pretty, strict on. So please follow this guideline, and hopefully everything can get submitted right. Okay, next up, we're going to talk about funding limits. So we have various types of events. The first one is going to be campus-wide events. So we have a larger budget here for $3,000 per event, and there's some specific guidelines, such as prizes for events cannot exceed $500 of the total request and a little bit more. And then we also have travel events, which can go up to $300 per organization once per semester. So if you are looking into travel, go ahead and look through those guidelines as well, and that can help you out.
Yes, and some more funding limits. So organization-specific fundings, you can request up to 75 per academic semester, and that's the fall and spring only, so summer is not included in that. And reusable items, so any items purchased with allocated funds that are reusable, so non-perishables or undamaged goods, those must be returned to MSG so that they can be added to the POG or programming on the go in the Center for Student Engagement for use with future events. And back funding. So MSG, we wanted to go through these 3 main bullet points just to let you know that MSG will not reimburse or pay for any purchases that have not been allocated, that have gone above and beyond the amount allocated to the student organization. And finally is made by an individual or organization before the purchase was approved. So make sure you're adhering to these guidelines, make sure you're following through and not over spending or spending the money that hasn't been allocated yet. So make sure you're following these kind of guidelines and to make sure that we can actually reimburse you properly.
All right, and jumping over to our violation policy. So MSG does do a strike system. Essentially, you get 3 strikes with different kind of consequence levels, but I really wanted to go over what types of things could give you a strike. So some examples are not submitting your receipts or documents within that 48-hour time period that we give you. Also, you know, not completing this training or failing to utilize the tax exempt form. So there's a lot more on this list, but you guys can go ahead and look that up on your own and make sure you're, you know, avoiding these mistakes. And then here are just the 3 levels of the violations, and you can look more into it on the misuse of funds section of the funding policy. So I just go ahead and do Control F and then type that in, and it'll quickly bring you to that section.
Yes, and then we wanted to touch on the funding calendar. Once again, I know you've probably seen it in future or past videos rather, but it can be still a bit confusing, and I was confused at it, by it at first. So we wanted to walk you through an example of how you would read this calendar if you had an event that happened in, let's say, October 2nd. So for that October 2nd date, we would want to look at the event travel /travel registration start date and that end date, and we can see that October 2nd falls in the second period there. Now, after we confirm where we want our event to be, we want to look to see when the allocations request for that period opens. So that opens on August the 18th of 2021, and then it closes August the 30th of 2021. So in that window, we definitely want to get our allocation requests in so that we can, MSG, that we, the finance team, can have that allocation meeting, have those requests, review them, and either review them and make a decision on your budget requests. And so I hope that kind of helped out, and hopefully that, you know, it's a little bit easier to read this calendar with all the dates and numbers. But the most important kind of and highlighted there is that deadline. So, and summer requests. So requests for the summer need to be made in funding period 7. So the deadline for that is March 1st, 2022. MSG only covers registration fees for travel requests during the summer. So that was another big bullet point. And lastly, all receipts for summer travel must be turned in no later than 48 hours after the registration has been paid, or no later than April 22nd, or whichever one comes first. So those were the main points on there. Make sure you're following, you know, kind of the summer request format. Make sure you're not requesting for an event in the summer where we're only covering registration fees for those travel requests.
All right, and then one of the more important parts that we wanted to go over is the allocation deadline. So our fall allocation deadline is November 19th, and then the spring will be April 22nd. And we'll definitely send you guys emails using the MSG Treasury email as reminders, just when that time gets a little bit closer. But these deadlines are set up for you as a hard deadline to have all your receipts, reimbursements, and any other documentation that we need to be submitted so that we can review everything and, you know, have everything settled before the break or the end of the school year. So these deadlines are very important for us so that we can, you know, end off our semester or school year, and it's really good for you guys so that you can still be in good standing with MSG. So please put these in your calendar, or we'll send you guys emails as well when they get closer.
Yes, lots of updates. And again, that email is msgtreasury@maryville.edu. Contact us with any comments, questions, or concerns you guys have. Otherwise, thanks guys. Thanks for watching the video.
Yeah, I hope this helped with like all the little parts of the funding policy that, you know, you might have had questions on. So just a reminder, again, this will be in the Canvas page on the funding policy, and our email is always there for you guys. So yeah, thank you for watching.
Thanks guys.